Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Monday, December 14th. I am Khalil Keita with the details. Today, the Salvation Army began its annual distribution of foodstuff for Christmas at its headquarters, and this year there will be in excess of 700 beneficiaries. The start of the distribution of food packages was preceded by a Thanksgiving service, which saw the Governor General, Dame Susan Duggan, in attendance. We get more in this report from Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
The COVID-19 pandemic has negatively affected the financial standing of many persons in SVG, and today the Salvation Army made sure that many of those most in need of help got some form of assistance. The organization, which relies on the generosity of businesses and the public at large to help raise funds in its annual kettle appeal used to provide a Christmas food baskets, will be providing help for more persons in need this year. Dame Susan Duggan was part of today's Thanksgiving service and also assisted in the distribution of the first set of food parcels. She gave thanks to God for keeping people safe during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic and said that she is aware of the difficulties faced by some Vincentians who may not receive the expected help from families.
2020 has been a very difficult year for all of us, not only in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but throughout the world. And the support we receive from other countries, our family and friends, is not forthcoming because of the many hardships they too are feeling.
The Governor General urged persons not to forget Christ during this season and thanked the commanding officer in charge of the Salvation Army, who she said has done a splendid job over the past months.
Because they show their love for God through their service to others, and we must be grateful for their contribution to Vincentians. The members of the advisory board of the Salvation Army also work tirelessly, and they must also be applauded. As you receive your goodies today, share it with others, and I know you will be blessed in abundance for it.
Today was the first day for the distribution of items to those in need. And Commander Ernest Gashlin said the distribution of items will be done over 3 days so as to avoid large crowds.
We're not going to have it because of the coronavirus, but we give God praise because we have people volunteer to go and assist us. So some will get today, some will get tomorrow, and some will get Wednesday. So we have 3 different set of tickets, about 700 as we normally give, plus the institutions and prison we're going to visit.
The persons who collected items today expressed gratitude for the support received.
Well, I am proud because it helped a lot of poor people, and it is really, it come in the right time.
And give God praise and thanks for the good time that we have had, for the Christmas passed by and the old year and the new year.
For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
The Reverend Otis Samuel Nichols, Dean of the St. Georges Cathedral, has encouraged parishioners to always live a life pleasing to God because they never know when life will be cut short. He was presiding at the third Sunday of Advent celebration at the cathedral yesterday, where his message was entitled, Short Stop.
An accident that nearly kills us, a hard report that comes from a routine checkup after the doctor's visit. Someone breaks into your home and threatens your life. But even more, we feel violated when persons enter our home without our permission to borrow what does not belong to them. And we are stopped in our tracks. We are stopped short. We are surprised and overwhelmed. And a similar theme runs through Paul's correspondence to the Thessalonians. And he shouts, Jesus is coming when you least expect him. Like a thief in the night, whatever you are doing at that time, you will be stopped short.
The celebration of the Advent, which is a season of the liturgical year, observed in most Christian denominations, commences on December 16th and runs to December 24th under the theme 200 Years and Beyond. The activities coincide with the St. Georges Cathedral's 200th anniversary of its consecration on September 6, 1820, under the theme Affirming Our Heritage, Forging New Paths. The cathedral has extended an invitation to the public to join the novena celebrations. A new man has been named to take over operations as superintendent of prisons, days after 2 prisoners escaped, one of them for the 2nd time. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who has ministerial responsibility for security, announced on radio yesterday that Superintendent of Police Timothy Hazelwood will take over as Superintendent of Prisons and will have as his deputy Inspector Dwayne Bailey.
Information. Superintendent Hazelwood is being put there as Superintendent of Prisons, and he's been assisted by Inspector Dwayne Bailey, very strong persons, and in law enforcement. And of course there are going to be other changes, but I make that point in the context of what I'm talking about. If you're delivering prison services, you have to deliver the prison services in a manner. Those who are involved, those whose noses are close to the grindstone, you have to deliver them in the best possible manner. You can't organize yourself in a way that a man escape twice like that.
The Prime Minister said that Prison Superintendent Brenton Charles asked for early retirement.
An illustration of that in the recent prison outbreak, as you know, the Superintendent of Prisons made a request for early retirement, which early retirement has been granted. And there's new leadership already installed in the prison. I have responsibility. I can't take blame, but I have to act in a manner which is responsive to the public, in addition being responsible to them.
Charles has served in the prison system for 37 years. The newly named superintendent, who has served in the police force for 37 years, has already begun having meetings as he takes over from Charles.
To execute my duties to the best of my ability and to continue the safety of the whole country. I cannot make a direct statement until I do a full assessment.
Murder accused Veron Primus was given a 24-month sentence when he appeared in the Kingstown Magistrates Court today and pleaded guilty to escaping lawful custody and damage to property. Primus, who was serving a sentence at Her Majesty's Prison for escaping lawful custody in 2019 and is awaiting trial for murder, along with Ulrich Chucky Hansen, who is also awaiting trial for murder, along with robbery and burglary, were recaptured last Thursday morning at about 9:30 a.m. Both prisoners escaped lawful custody early Wednesday, December 9th. They were found at a house in Camden Park, and in the course of the recapture, the police said Hansen was shot in his left leg. The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has denied claims in an article published on the weekend and today, which made claims of an investigation of officers over a gang rape incident. The police said in a release that they were unequivocally refuting the claim, noting that the article, which was published in the print press and online, is erroneous, incorrect, and amounts to irresponsible journalism. The police said while they have launched recent investigations into reports of a sexual nature against several police officers, the investigations are all independent of each other and there is no gang rape involved in these investigations. It further said that none of the alleged incidents occurred at any police station and none of the alleged victims are under the age of consent. The police said neither of the two entities tried to contact them for verification of the information before publishing and is therefore calling on the two publications to retract the article and tender an apology. The Caribbean Development Bank is supporting St. Vincent and the Grenadines' push to expand and increase its range of renewable energy options through a planned solar energy project. On Thursday, December 10th, the bank's board of directors approved a $8.6 million in funding to the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Electricity Services Limited, VINLEC, for the supply and installation of solar photovoltaic PV systems at the buildings owned by the company in the vicinity of the Argyle International Airport. The bank said the funding will also cover the establishment of a battery energy storage system, BESS, to be installed at the Cane Hall substation. The solar PV systems will displace some of the diesel fuel used for electricity generation, thereby improving energy efficiency. The project is in line with the government's national energy policy, which aims at increasing the use of renewable energy technologies and has set a target of 60% of electricity generated from renewable energy resources. The bank said this aligned with its own strategic objective of promoting renewable energy and energy efficiency in its borrowing member countries as priority areas of support. The CDB's head of Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Unit, Joseph Williams, said this alignment, along with the bank's cross-cutting focus on energy security, made the project an excellent prospect for the institution's support. Williams said the CDB is committed to supporting the sustainable energy transition in the Caribbean, which they see as being essential to the region's future. On the funding, approved $5.45 million will be a loan, of which $2.03 million will be drawn from resources provided by the European Investment Bank under the second Climate Action line of credit. Some $3.16 million will be grant funding under the Sustainable Energy for the Eastern Caribbean program. The total cost of the project is estimated at $10.2 million, with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines contributing the remaining $1.5 million. St. Vincent and the Grenadines today recorded 4 new COVID-19 cases. 3 are returning nationals who arrived from the UK on November 28th with negative PCR test results and tested positive on day 5 testing. The Ministry of Health said the 3 adults tested positive for COVID-19 after their 5-day mandatory hotel quarantine. The 4th case is also a national who arrived on Monday, December 7th from Canada with a negative PCR test result, tested negative on entry screening, and then positive on day 5 testing. The ministry said the adult travelers are in mandatory quarantine and will be isolated until cleared by 2 negative tests. Contact tracing and testing have also commenced. This country has now recorded a total of 98 COVID-19 cases, 81 of which have recovered, with 17 now active, all arriving from countries categorized as high risk. The ministry has pointed out that the new cases, which were detected during the 9 to 14-day quarantine period, reinforces the importance of all travelers, their families and friends, strictly complying with the rules of quarantine for the entire period. It has reinforced that persons in quarantine should not leave their homes unless authorized, nor should they entertain visitors or attend 9 Mornings festivities. All protocols and advisories, including the use of facial coverings, must be followed to reduce the risk of the introduction and subsequent spread of the new COVID-19 cases in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It will take several months before St. Vincent and the Grenadines is able to get the COVID-19 vaccine. However, infectious disease specialist Dr. Gerald Thompson also said this is not a bad thing, as it will give the country the opportunity to survey the terrain to see what is taking place with other countries who have the vaccine. He said this will allow the local health authorities to plan more effectively when the vaccine arrives here. Speaking on NBC Radio's Face-to-Face program, Dr. Thompson commended the work of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment and the application it has made for the vaccine for SVG through the COVAX program.
COVAX aim is really to make sure that no country is left behind. Because from a global point of view, there's so much travel. So if only the rich countries receive the vaccine, then, it's a problem. Now at the same time, it has to be safe. And I think that the story is not, I've got to say, is not fully in yet, but the signs are very good that for at least these early vaccines. And I am confident that the vaccines that are not so good are being weeded out. When it comes down to, what St. Vincent, I'm sure a process will be fully explained by the Ministry of Health, our CMO and so forth, as regards what the process has been in selecting those particular vaccines and the source, the COVAX source that is come from, how basically what this will mean to Vincentians.
Dr. Thompson said when the vaccine arrives in SVG, it is advisable that it be administered to those at greatest risk of contracting the COVID-19 virus, such as the elderly, healthcare workers, and persons with debilitating conditions, such as diabetes and cancer. He said safety should be a priority and persons with allergies should avoid taking the vaccine in the early stage of its rollout.
Other vaccines, some other vaccines are made using eggs. You understand? Other vaccines, they have other substances in them that a small percentage of people can be allergic to. These vaccines don't have that. At least the Pfizer vaccine doesn't have that. But somehow persons have still developed what we call severe allergic reactions. This is something that we have to watch very carefully. Now, strangely enough, these are people who have a condition of being allergic to everything. And so the warning is that people who suffer general allergies should not be the first to receive these vaccines until we have found out the information. So have you had any allergies to aspirin? Have you had any allergies to a host of other things, bees and so forth? And if they say yes, say you hold up for now. We will come back to you later in a few months after we have found out a lot more information about this.
The infectious disease specialist also used the opportunity again to debunk some of the claims made about the vaccine, which he termed as fake news.
Developed in human embryo. In the 60s, they had tried that, and those things are no longer done, to be honest, you know. They say that, oh, these new messenger RNA vaccines will change your DNA. Well, no. Our own body produces RNA, messenger RNA in all of our cells. You know what I mean? These new messenger RNA are templates. They are not exactly from the real virus. They are copies that have been made artificially, and so they're not going to change the DNA. And they are short-lived. And what they do is to prime our immune system so that we've got some gas in the tank. But essentially, when the real virus comes along, we can now fight it off. And then the big issue is, has it come too soon? Has it come too soon? Well, the truth is, we've been waiting for a whole year for something to happen. Some countries are still in lockdown. Some countries are in lockdown 3-4 times. St. Vincent, they say we've handled the pandemic well. But still, economically, we see the effect. Tourists can't come, yachts, luxury yachts are outside in the bay and so forth. The people have to stay there on the quarantine. All those sort of things have to take place. How do we get back closer to some other form of normal? We're in a new normal, how we get back. The vaccine is one of the important things.
Dr. Thompson said he believes that very soon another pharmaceutical company, most likely Moderna, will fulfill the necessary requirements to gain approval of another vaccine to fight COVID-19. He noted that there are more than 170 vaccine candidates going through the process and several have already been rejected. The Public Health Department has issued a reminder to butchers, slaughtermen and farmers that all locally harvested food from animals in St. Vincent and the Grenadines must be inspected and passed as fit for human consumption by the Public Health Department before being sold. In this regard, the department is further reminding all parties of the meat inspection process for the Christmas season. It said ante-mortem inspection, or the examination of animals prior to slaughter, must be done by an environmental health officer. Persons are advised to contact the Public Health Department or the District Environmental Health Officer to make the necessary arrangements at least 72 hours before slaughtering. The department said post-mortem inspections will be carried out immediately after harvesting food animals. This is to determine the wholesomeness of the meat for sale and for human consumption. During the 2020 Christmas season, inspections will be done only between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Additionally, butchers, slaughtermen, and farmers are asked to register their intention to the Environmental Health Officer by December 16th. The public is also reminded not to purchase or consume meat that has not passed or been inspected as fit for human consumption by the department and to report any instances where meat is sold without certification. Butchers and slaughtermen, must display their meat inspection certificates at the place where the meat is being sold.